Hey y'all, I'm back and I have more of your Let's Not Meet stories, and these seem really bad. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. I'm probably gonna have to put trigger warnings for some of these. I haven't read them yet because I like to read them for the first time on camera. Makes me feel like I'm like reading them with you guys. So if I do feel like I need to put a trigger warning, it will be like text on the screen. Hopping into it, this first story just says Stalker. Hi, a little backstory before I get into it. At this time, I was 16, but had done online school and had a diploma from graduating early. This meant I could work whatever hours I wanted, so I got a job at a Wendy's that was connected to a gas station and truck stop from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Anyways, for the story, I was at work and it was about 11 or 12 at night, and there was only one other person working with me. She was an older woman who barely weighed 100 pounds and spent most of her time in the back office doing manager work since that was her job. A man walks into the Wendy's and comes up to the front, so I ask him what he would like to order. He asks me if I could give him anything for free. I look him up and down and noticed he wasn't wearing anything that would signify he needed help affording anything. He was wearing brand new Nike shoes with a tracksuit that looked like it was newly bought as well. Being the scared 16-year-old I was, I didn't want to cause any problem, so I just told him I could give him a drink and some chili. He says that's fine, so I go to the back part where I have to get the chili, and as I walk away, he asks me what I'm doing. I explained to him that I have to go to the back to complete his order. Then he looks at me like I'm a meal or something and says, "What is a girl as young and beautiful as you doing working this late all by yourself?" At this point, the manager was in the back office, which he could not see into from where he had to stand to order, so I told him that I was in fact not alone and walked away to get his drink and food. I'm so glad you said you weren't alone, because I don't even know what's gonna happen, but I feel like it could have escalated past whatever happens if he actually did believe that you were alone. I gave him his food, and when I do, he goes out of his way to touch my hand. I yank my hand away and tell him to have a good night, and I start to walk away. He yells, "Hey, I have a question." I turn back around and ask him what he needs without walking back towards the counter. He then asks if I have a pen I could give him. I felt really uncomfortable at this point, so I told him I would have to walk to the office to grab one for him. He says it's fine, and I walk back there and I tell my manager what's going on. Good. She says she's gonna watch, and I go give him the pen. At this point, he stares at me for a second before asking how old I am. I tell him I'm 16, to which he says, "Oh, well, here's my number anyways. I hope you'll call me sometime," and hands me the paper that he wrote his number on. My manager sees all of this and comes out of the office, takes the paper from me, throws it away, and starts yelling at him to not come back. For days after that, this guy would stand in the gas station part of the store but peek around the corner to watch me. After he got kicked out of the gas station part for things not related to his stalking problem, he would stand in the parking lot and watch me through the windows. My manager was well aware of all of this and would always walk me to my car when I would go to leave and wait for me before she would walk into work. I love your manager. The guy would be there when I got to work at 10 p.m. It would still be there at 6 a.m. when I went to leave. Oh my God. Eventually, he tried to come back into the Wendy's and refused to leave. At this point, my manager had me locked in the back office while she called the police and dealt with the man. When the police came, all they said they could do would be to escort him away from the building and ban him from being there. I told the police officer thank you, and he gave me his info and told me to personally ask for him if we had to call again, since he was aware of the situation we had. A month went by with no problems, and the officer had come back multiple times just to check and make sure everything was well, and it was. Until it wasn't. One day, about 7 police officers were called to the back of the building due to a woman whose head was busted open. After that, the cops came to the building to check things out way more often. Things died down and the cops stopped coming around. One night, the manager was super busy, so I had to take the trash out back. While I was back there, I heard a lot of weird noises and crying. I went to tell my manager, and she called the police officer who had come to help us the first time. When the police officer got there, he found another woman who was in distress out in the back. Oh my God. Oh my God. After she told her story and gave a description of the man who had forced her to do some things with the truck drivers, the officer came in to tell me and the manager that the same guy who had beat the first woman and forced the other one into had been the same guy who stalked me for months. When they arrested the guy, they found out that he had multiple girls doing, and the woman who had her head busted open was his wife, who had been trying to stop him from making those girls do those things. After this, I was very distressed and scared of working there, and I ended up quitting. So to the weird sex trafficking man who beat his wife and stalked me, let's not meet again. Oh my God, yeah, that was horrific. That was horrific. I'm speechless. Oh my God, that's Oh, fuck. I am so glad he was arrested. And I feel like this is one of the first stories I've read where the police officers like actually did their job. I'm beyond grateful that they like came back and checked on you multiple times and checked the building and made sure that everything was okay. That is traumatizing though, regardless. I am so happy that nothing ever happened to you. Wow. Yeah, that one's gonna need a trigger warning. This next one also seems really bad. It says, my ex tried to kill me. Hi, I've been very hesitant to post this just because I don't want this guy to see this or have any reason to try and recontact me in any way, shape, or form. That being said, he's tried to follow me on multiple different platforms over the last year, which I have ignored, so I just pray he won't find this. If for any reason you need me to take this video down, I will in a heartbeat. Just like message me on Instagram or something. I'm like kind of hesitant to even include this, but you put this on here, so I'm assuming that you feel okay with it right now. But if I'm not even joking, for any reason, even if it's like a split second of you being like, I shouldn't have done that, please message me. I will delete this video. I promise. I'm gonna preface this by saying all of these events took place almost 3 years ago, and the topics discussed in this are very crazy. So, trigger warning, abuse by a partner, underage drinking, and mentions of drug use. If there's anything else that I feel like needs a trigger warning, I'll put it on the screen. Wow, okay, this all started when I was a 6th grader and started riding the bus to get to school. The guy, we'll just call A for the sake of the story, rode the same bus to get to school as well. And being young and dumb kids, he would flirt with me by being kind of rude, and I would do the same. Eventually, me and this guy got together, and being young and dumb, we got into a young and dumb relationship. We would meet at the local gym to hang out, hold hands, we had our first kiss together. We would have the occasional arguments, and he would be really rude and ignore me for days at a time. During this time, we also had a very on and off relationship, which included both of us dating other people in between that time we would be together. This guy was a year younger than me, so when I was going into high school, he was in his last year of middle school, and these were different schools, which means we would no longer be at the same school, and I had changed buses, so we would also not be on the same bus. This led up to break up for good. I ended up going on to high school and didn't have to see him anymore. At this point, I'd gotten into a different relationship that had its whole own set of problems, but different story. The relationship with this guy basically lasted a year, but we ended up breaking up when I went into online school. After leaving school to do online school, me and A started talking again and decided to start dating again. Around this time, I was 15, about to turn 16, and he was 14, but his dad was a drug addict and didn't really care about what he did, so he would come pick me up in his dad's car and we would drive around. Illegal, I know. This is the point where things start to get a little scary, and I'll try to go into more detail. On this night, I snuck out of my house, walked down the road to get into the car with him and drive around. When I got into the car, he was already in a bad mood, so I was just trying to be quiet and listen to whatever was going on with him. I had laid my phone down in the cup holder facing both of us to make sure I was paying attention to him, when all of a sudden, my phone lit up with a friend request from my most recent ex. This set him off, causing him to drive about 50 on the back roads in the middle of the country, meaning deer everywhere and super windy roads with a speed limit of 30. He was yelling about how much of a slut I was and how much he hated me and how crazy I was for always having to have someone other than him. He ended up almost running off the road and slammed on his brakes at one point, causing me to hit my head on the dashboard. Eventually, he took me back home and I just sat in my bed and cried because this is the first time I had ever felt scared of him. There were a lot of things in between that story and the next story, but none of them were physical, only mental mind games and name calling, etc. At this time, my mother and me were kind of having a falling out due to her getting back together with my biological father, so I decided to move into his house with him and his father. His father did meth and smoked pot. A also smoked pot and his father allowed him to do so. His dad was super sweet most of the time, but sometimes he would blast super loud music all night and get into fights with A. A was having to go to school at this time, and it was really stressful for him, so I had sympathy for him. His dad was also in and out of jail at the time, so we would be in the house alone. During this time, I worked at the Wendy's from my previous story. What the fuck? Oh my god, is this the same person? Oh my god, I had no idea. What the hell? During this time, I worked at the Wendy's from my previous story, so when I would get off of work, I would go pick him up and take him to school and then come back and sleep and go pick him back up from school, then try to sleep more, but most of the time he wouldn't let me. He would always try to keep me awake and would ask me to clean the house, do laundry, all that stuff. When I would forget to do the laundry or I would fall asleep, he would get super mad and slam me into walls, and at one point threw a TV that I had bought him at my head. At one point he kicked me super hard multiple times while yelling at me for something that I can't even remember. At every point during this, he would always apologize and make me feel like it wasn't his fault, and I would stay because I didn't want to go home and I didn't want to leave him because I thought we loved each other. Things would be super great for like weeks at a time, and then he would become abusive. I had decided I was finally done and I wanted to leave, so I packed up some of my stuff and left, but was still unsure of actually leaving, so instead of going home, I would just camp in my car for a few nights and then I would end up going back. The clothes that I had left had been set on fire in the yard, and of course he apologized and told me how sorry he was and how he loved me and needed me in his life. This is the part of the story where I'm pretty sure he was actually trying to find the courage to kill me, like he was building up to committing the actual crime. He would slowly start becoming more mean and abusive towards me, biting me, leaving huge bruises that would hurt so much that I could barely sit. He wouldn't allow me to wear anything but pants and t-shirts to cover the bruises, and he made sure nobody knew. Then one day, he strangled me against the wall, only letting go after I started to black out, still kicking me and hitting me, slamming me into walls, and mentally abusing me. Then one day, I decided I would try and fight back when he started being mean. So when he started hitting me, I slapped him back. I know, not smart and not good on my part. You did nothing wrong in any of this, and I hope you know that. This caused him to back me into a tree in his front yard that he had hung a rope from. He then wrapped the rope around my neck, pulled it up, lifting me off the ground. He only let me go minutes later and then tried to pretend like it was a joke. A few days later, I decided that I was really leaving, so I packed up some of my stuff again, but actually went home this time. Then of course I had to go pick up the rest of my stuff, and when I did, he was sitting with a gun at the front door, pointing it at me while I collected my stuff. What the fuck? Oh my God. After this, I stayed away from him for a long time, up until the point where I'd gotten really drunk and I didn't want to go home to my mother, so I called his dad and got him to take me to his house. Then we ended up hooking up and we started talking again. During the time we were apart, I had dated a different guy for like 2 weeks and we had stayed friends, and I was going to get a puppy from him, to which he told me that if I got a puppy, he would kill the puppy because I was only allowed to do stuff or get stuff from him. A few days later, I stopped talking to him again and blocked him on everything, or so I thought. 3 months later, I was in a situationship with someone else and he was having a birthday party, so I posted the details on my Snap story. Then I was headed to the party when I got a text from A telling me he knew where I was going to be and that he was going to show up and kill me because I was a slut. I was in my other friend's car, who was about 24, and I was 18. But this friend carries a weapon at all times, so I basically locked myself into this car with him all night to make sure that I was safe. I even had people walk with me to go to the bathroom and stuff. We were in the woods. Nothing ended up happening, but anyways, after that, I ended up in another relationship about a year later, and now have a super cute kid, even though me and her father aren't together anymore. After I gave birth, when my daughter was like 2 months old, A tried to re-add me on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all over the span of like 5 months, all of which were not accepted, of course. Anyways, that's my story, all of the crazy stuff my ex did. I left out a lot of details because it lasted so long and I didn't want this to be super long, but you can basically get the insane idea of what I went through. Yeah, and I can't even imagine, like, I'm sure that there's so much more. I mean, and you literally said that, but that's how it's all, like, that's how it always is. It's like, okay, these are like the big things that I can recap, but it's also the buildup of all the small things in between. You know what I mean? That is horrific. And I'm so sorry. I like don't even know what else to say. And I know me being like, oh, I'm so sorry you went through that is so like, what the fuck does that do? I'm like, I don't even know what to say. And the fact that both of those stories were from you, oh my God. Oh my God. I just really hope that you are in a much better place now and that you never have to deal with any of this kind of stuff ever again, because oh my God, especially with like your daughter, oh my God, I just hope that you guys live peacefully the rest of your lives, live peacefully and happily. And again, I want to say this again, if you need me to delete this video or if you even have like a second thought about me posting this, please message me on Instagram. I promise I will delete it. This is the last story I'm gonna read. It says, to the man recording me at work, let's not meet again. Hi Courtney, longtime viewer from Canada. I've been wanting to share this story for a while and I'm finally getting around to it now. During my undergraduate program, I worked in the hospitality industry. As I'm sure you all know, weird, crazy, and creepy things happen all the time in a bar. But this story was particularly scary for me. My gut feeling was screaming. At the time, I was a shift lead, so basically I did a bit of everything and closed the front of house at end of night. This night was quite slow, so I let my coworkers finish early and planned to finish serving the remaining guests on my own. So it was just me and the bartender, let's call him Evan, working front of house. there was one male guest that was sitting at the bar way past last call with a mostly full beard. I had never seen him before and he never made conversation with me. He was just sitting on his phone. I was chatting with a coworker who had gotten off of shift. Let's call him Kyle. Kyle was sitting at the opposite end of the bar from the man, close to the front door of the restaurant. As we were talking, I could see the man's phone pointing in my direction. For context, this bar was in a historic building, so people frequently took pictures. I assumed he was trying to take pictures of the restaurant, so I moved my body to behind Kyle. Then I see the man's phone poke out from behind Kyle's head, as if the man was trying to get my face in the photo. I started to move my body around more and put my arm up on the bar so I could discreetly cover my face with my hand. I was trying to give Kyle the eyes that something was wrong, but of course he didn't realize what I was trying to do. I decided I would go tell the guys working in the kitchen and just get away from the man. As I walked behind Kyle, who was still sitting at the bar, I had to walk behind the man, who was sitting close to the kitchen entrance. As I did this, he pushes his chair out and fully turned his body holding his phone, recording me. His ringer was on. I could hear him spamming the button to take photos. At this point, I was in front of the door to the men's washroom, definitely not in front of an aesthetic part of the restaurant. I was maybe 2 feet from the man. His eyes were angry. I don't know how to explain it. He just had the most unfriendly, unkind vibe to him, and I was so uncomfortable. I remember saying, "Oh my God," nothing else. I froze. And I'm so disappointed in myself in hindsight that I didn't grab the fucking phone out of his hand. You did nothing wrong. I just crossed my arms over my stomach and ducked my head, basically running into the kitchen. This is finally when Evan, the bartender, realized what was happening. I waited in the kitchen and told the guys what happened, and they agreed that I should sit back there for like 15 minutes to make sure the man finishes his beer and leaves, so I did. When I finally came back out, I was shocked to see him still sitting there, staring at me, with his beer still mostly full, phone in hand. I went up to Evan and Kyle, told them I was going to grab something and I would be right back. This was a lie, of course. I was going to call the manager, but I knew the man could hear me. I went around the corner to the back office, but that is the same corner that leads to the front door. This is when Evan and Kyle told me that when I turned the corner and opened the office door, which sounds like the front door, the man jumped up and took off to the back of the restaurant. The boys told me they followed him, but they didn't see where he went. They brightened all the lights to make sure, but they told me they think he dashed out the back exit. The fire exit opens to the side of the parking lot just around the corner from the exterior of the front entrance. Evan and Kyle were worried that he maybe took off outside thinking I had gone to grab something from outside. So we locked all the doors and they agreed to stay with me until the end of closing and walk me to my car. At this point, I was spiraling. My head immediately went to like human trafficking or stalking. I just couldn't shake how bad the man's vibe was and how angry he looked. Kyle thought it would be a great idea to tease me and say, "Ew, think of it like a compliment. You know what he's gonna do with this." Ugh, that made me feel disgusting. That's a disgusting thing to say. Anyways, the guys walked me to my car at the end of the night and watched me drive away to make sure no cars pulled out to follow me. I love that for them, but hate the comment that one of them made. I'm very glad that I didn't actually go outside and that the man didn't follow me after work. I understand the story isn't crazy, but I wanted to share it as a reminder that people don't always have innocent intentions. I hope people in similar situations will stand up for themselves better than I did, because you never know how far people will take it. If you did nothing wrong at all. And it's like, okay, sorry, but they said to the man recording me at work, "I hope we never meet again." I just want to say, honestly sucks that as women we have to like think about like, why is this happening to me? What did I do to cause this? When in reality, they're just a fucking weirdo creep and you don't deserve to be in that situation, and you should never have to question what you could have done differently, because it should have never happened. You did absolutely nothing wrong by not saying anything and speaking up and whatever, because you didn't deserve for that to happen to you, and nobody knows how they would react in that situation, because it shouldn't happen. I just don't want you to give yourself a hard time over like what ifs or what you should have done or what you think you should have done, because you don't deserve to like rack your brain for like all of these different things. Like, you just deserve peace at work and to not have to encounter men like that. Okay, well that's all I have for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any other creepy, weird, scary stories that you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit linked down below. I don't know if I say this in a recent video or not, I can't remember, but I'm gonna make like a rainbowy video soon. I know I've said that, well, like I've said that in the past and then I never did. I do have stuff to talk about, but I don't want to put it at the end of a video because it's kind of a lot and I feel like I'm going to talk for like a long time. Just some like unfortunate, stupid fucking things that have happened to me, but I'm just waiting to film that because I need to calm down. I'm like angry at some things right now, so I don't want to like put a video out and just be like annoying in it. Like I just want to talk about things that are like affecting me, but like when they're not affecting me, if that makes any sense. So I'm gonna go, but I love you guys so much and I will see you in the next one. Bye.